Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving break. Looking really forward to seeing you guys and talking with you on Wednesday. But for now and for Tuesday, I have two videos that I want you guys to watch and learn a little about. With the video today, you are not going to be taking any notes. There will be questions coming up in the Edpuzzle, though, that you will need to answer. This lesson is kind of broken down into three different targets. The first one, I just want to take a little bit of time and have us learn about the science that we've learned so far and establish why does that science matter? Why is it important? The second thing that I want us to take a little bit of time and learn about is what the atom is. This is kind of the beginning of effectively our second major unit, where we're really going to dive into something different than the stuff we've been learning about previously. The stuff that we've learning about previously is still very important, and it still kind of builds on what we're going to be learning about today and the upcoming weeks. The last thing is I want us to establish why learning about the atom is important from your perspective. I want to know and hear your guys' voices and opinions and see why do you think this is important. And then we'll be coming back to this particular target on Wednesday. Depending on your answers, right? We might spend more or less time. I kind of want to see what you say first. All right, so first things first, what have we learned? Well, so far, we've really just kind of been focusing on the basics, right? We learned how to measure. We learned how to do the scientific method. Here, I can scroll up a little bit. We learned how to do the scientific method, right? We learned how to science. We learned about solids, liquids, and gases, and elements, compounds, and mixtures. 3 and 4, really going to come in clutch with what we're going to be doing this week. You're going to see why that's super relevant as we start unpacking the atom and learning how the atom is different and how things in our universe is organized. We learned a little bit about chemical reactions and physical reactions. This is going to kind of come to play in our final main chapter of physical science, but you're going to see why this is really important, and you may already see it now. The last one is understanding things like volume and mass and density. All of the matter in our universe has volume, mass, and density. And so if we're going to learn about matter, if we're going to learn about atoms, if we're going to learn about stuff, we need to learn about some of the things that make stuff stuff. So, what I'd like you guys to do is to take a moment and answer a question for me. Why do you think we learned about these things? I just told you why I think we learned about these things. Why are they important to you? Why do these things matter, right? Why are they important? Go ahead, take some time and reflect. Cool. I'll look forward to reading your responses. Okay, so that was target number 1, understanding why the science that we have learned is important. Target number 2, what is the atom? What is the atom? You ready? Here we go. Target number 2. Atoms are matter, right? This scissors right here. Me, you, the computer that I'm projecting from right now, the electronic device that you're watching me from, everything that you can see, touch, taste, and smell is effectively matter, right? Physical science is the study of matter and energy, with a primary focus for us on matter. And that means learning all about atoms. Atoms are super important. They make up everything in the universe. And in order to understand matter and atoms on a large scale, in order to understand how they apply to us, we need to understand them on a smaller scale, because that's how atoms work. Atoms are really teeny tiny. We need to understand the microscopic, the little teeny tiny, in order to understand the macroscopic, our world. So, what exactly is an atom? Because atoms make up matter, right? But like, what is an atom? In my hand, I'm holding trillions of atoms. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to do a little bit of a science experiment. I'm going to rip this piece of paper in half. Now what do I have? Before I had a bunch of atoms. What do I have? Turns out I still have a bunch of atoms, right? I can cut it in half again. Now I have fewer atoms, maybe only a couple dozen trillion now. Rip it in half again, fewer atoms. And I can just kind of keep on ripping it in half and in half and in half over again, gradually getting smaller and smaller pieces. I'm going to rip it in half again and again. And I'm just going to keep ripping it in half. Eventually, I'm going to get down to such a small piece of paper that I can't actually rip it in half. But what I can do is I can take a pair of scissors and I can cut it in half with a pair of scissors and gradually get smaller and smaller pieces of paper. Each time that I cut it in half, I get a smaller piece of paper until eventually, what's going to happen? Yeah, I don't know how well you guys can see that little tiny speck on my finger. But if I was to cut this speck in half over and over again, hundreds and hundreds of times, what would eventually happen? What would I be left with? Eventually, if I cut this in half over and over again, I would be left with an atom. See, eventually we're going to get down to a point where we get something that's so incredibly small, we just can't cut it in half again. It does not matter how sharp your scissors are. It does not matter how, I don't know, good of a laser you're using to cut the scissors, or like if you're trying to use like a magnet or something to gently separate these tiny little atoms apart, eventually that's all that's going to be left is a single atom. That is what our universe is made of. Pretty cool. So that was target number 2. What is an atom? It's something that builds our universe. It makes up matter. It makes everything. I want you guys to take a little bit of a moment and try and address our third target. Why do you think I'm teaching you about the atoms? Why is it useful? What is one way that you think it can be important? Take a little bit of time, reflect, and then I'll review your answers and we'll come back together. Enjoy. Thank you for your submissions, folks. There will be another video for Tuesday. I'll talk to you more on Wednesday. Bye now.